indeterminate but undetermined? Why is it infidelity but unfaithfulness? Why is it incessant but unceasing? If you guys can't get your head around these apparently inexplicable word formation processes, wordbildungsprozesse, словообразование in contemporary English, definitely stick around, because in today's episode we're going to get on with our little investigation into some of the synonymous or semantically related suffixes in English. So we did prefixes last week, and I definitely would encourage you to go and check that one out, because I am talking specifically about the allomorphs, so morphemes and allomorphs, and in today's episode we're going to be focusing on some of the suffixes. Inexplicable. Всем привет! Hallo, zusammen! Hi guys! Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Anastasia and I love creating videos about language because I've been learning English and German for many years now, and I just love observing things linguistically and paying particular attention to little phenomena, for example to prefixes and suffixes, which have always interested me, because morphological awareness along with the phonological awareness have definitely boosted my pronunciation, accuracy, fluency, and the range of vocab that I try to use constantly. I have split up today's episode in 3 parts. In part 1 we're going to be talking about the synonymous nominalizing suffixes. What? Okay, so the suffixes that derive nouns, if that's helpful. In part 2 we're going to be talking about some of the synonymous verbalizing suffixes, so suffixes that derive verbs. And in part 3 we're going to be talking about some suffixes that derive new adjectives and thus are called adjectivalizing suffixes. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. Let's do a super quick recap while I'm having my herbal tea. To be more specific, I'm having some green tea because it's a rainy day here in Munich. By the way guys, if you happen to be in Munich right now, don't miss out on the Oktoberfest. Even though I'm not a beer drinker myself, I've definitely enjoyed being on the what is called Wiesen, so this huge lawn with all those temporary constructions, the beer tents, and you know, just a wonderful experience. So because it's about to finish like in 1 week's time. So what we've learned so far is that etymology, or слово происхождение, definitely plays a big role when it comes to creating new words. So for example, we've got Greek, we've got Romance, we've got Yiddish, we've got Germanic roots, right? And we've learned that certain prefixes precede certain bases and certain suffixes follow certain bases, which is actually today's episode's topic. Anyway, quote, bases and affixes may combine only if their etymological features are compatible. We've also learned that morphophonological restrictions also play a role when it comes to prefixes and suffixes. So with that information in mind, let's investigate a bit further into the competition between suffixes. Cheers! So this is a continuation of our talk about the affixal rivalry in contemporary English, which was or is the topic of my term paper. When it comes to synonymous nominalizing suffixes, we do have like 4 prominent ones. The Asian one, then we've got the NES one, the ET one, and the E one, or just the W at the end of the word. So let's stick with the Asian one just for a sec. The Asian suffix has got, and hold on tight, 8 allomorphs. Yep, you've heard that right. This variety of allomorphs has something to do with this suffix being quote, the default nominalizer of verbs formed with the suffixes "-is" as in device and "-ify" as in signify. Some instances of nouns with this morpheme would be ambition, benefaction, companion, compassion, contusion, diction, dimension. You can see it most frequently attaches to verbs, and sometimes it also attaches to adjectives, as in adequation, discretion, erudition. It also attaches to nouns, as in artifaction and ozonation. It goes without saying that a substantial number of nouns derived with the help of this suffixation are created on foreign bases, sometimes favouring native bases. So we've got, for example, starvation, backwardation, botheration, and so on and so forth. Moving on to the two nominalizing Romance suffixes et and e, which are evidently in competition with two Germanic suffixes, th and nes. Nes has always been an absolute favourite in forming abstract de-adjectival nouns. What does it mean? So de-adjectival meaning it attaches to adjectives and forms nouns, as in correctness, commonness, appropriateness. And I have to mention that the suffix nes fully disregards the genetic origin of the preceding bases. It also applies to, quote, verbal past participles, as in ashamedness. There is a probably infinite list of words formed with the help of the nes suffix. So we've got sameness, otherness, belonging, belongingness, muchness. Some forms that do have nes as the suffix, they look like ad hoc formations, as in meanness or arseness or thingness or matter of factness or kind-heartedness or up-to-dateness and so forth. This is of course indicative of the highly productivity that the suffix nes displays. We've just learned that the suffix nes attaches to both native and non-native adjectives, and also to, quote, simple and derived adjectives, as in badness, largeness or bizarreness. And nes also attaches to adjectival compounds, as in bloody-mindedness or church-relatedness. Contrasting nes to its competitor, et, we must conclude that the et suffix, which exclusively attaches to Latinate adjectives, as in profundity or solidity, is, quote, restricted in its application, because the et suffix is really sensitive to the phonology and prosody of the bases it attaches to, resulting in its low productivity. At the beginning of this episode, I was asking myself, what's the difference between infidelity and unfaithfulness? Turns out that the suffixes et and nes are, quote, close semantic relatives, but the nouns they derive do exhibit some semantic differences. Infidelity is rather used to denote, quote, religious transgression, whereas in unfaithfulness means, quote, disregard of marriage vows. And infidelity, which ends in a Latinate suffix, is a direct romance loan, whereas unfaithfulness is a hybrid combination which contains native elements and non-native elements, with native ones being on, full, and nes, and the non-native ones being the faith one, right? Please note that this is of course a non-exhaustive list of competing nominalizing suffixes in contemporary English. Alright, so welcome to part 2 of this episode. Let's contrast the synonymous verbalizing suffixes, "-is" as in moralize and "-ify" as in glorify. Now, these two verbalizing suffixes, or verb-deriving suffixes, are both enormously productive in present-day English, and the choice of "-is" or "-ify" depends on a range of factors, primarily concerning phonology and prosody of the base. Their phonological constraints and semantic closeness have the fact that both are almost considered, quote, phonologically conditioned allomorphs, thus occurring in complementary distribution. Whilst the suffix "-is" primarily attaches to nouns that have 2 or 3 syllables, as in randomize or hospitalize, thus in subject to prosodic constraints, its competitor "-ify" prefers monosyllabic bases, as in artify, which also indicates its dependence on prosody. Etymological restrictions also play a role, whilst the Romance suffix "ify" is mainly found on Romance nouns, as in beautify, objectify, intensify, and also on Germanic roots, uglify, prettify. Its competitor, the Greek suffix "-is", is mostly attested on Greek or Romance roots, so the Greek ones being scandalize, canonize, agonize, symbolize. The Romance roots being authorize, patronize, civilize, etc., etc. Again, these two are of course not the only ones used to derive verbs in English. For the purposes of this video, it's more than enough, and if you're interested in more suffixes which are used to derive verbs, just let me know in the comments down below. Alrighty, welcome in part 3 of today's episode, in which we're going to contrast the synonymous adjectivalizing suffixes able and os, and both of them display allomorphs, which I'll show you in a second. So the suffix able, with its orthographic variant able, primarily attaches to verbs, as in cancelable, more precisely to, quote, transitive and intransitive verbal bases. In contrast, its competitor os, which has various variants, as this ears, as in homogeneous, and this ears, as in prestigious, and ouious, as in ambiguous, predominantly combines with nouns, as in nervous or hazardous. Although both suffixes are genetically of Romance descent, they tremendously differ in terms of combinability, with the able suffix being more flexible and thus combining with both native and non-native bases, and os most frequently preferring the Romance basis. Consequently, the vast majority of adjectives derived with the help of the os suffix originate from Romance languages, so as in curious, famous, synonymous, tremendous. Obviously, guys, a sizable number of suffixes that are used to derive adjectives in contemporary English has been excluded from this video because it would have been too much, you know. And I thought, you know, if you're interested, leave me a comment in the comments section down below, and I'd be more than happy to share those with you. I hope that the affixal distribution has become somewhat more clearer. The distribution of these prefixes is purely down to their etymology, and the less crucial morphophonological constraints have resulted in a wide range of allomorphs. I hope that this morphological knowledge will give you some confidence in identifying morphemes, and also in, you know, trying to be creative and in coming up with as many adjectives, nouns, verbs, adverbs as possible. I hope what's become clear as well is that having some knowledge in Greek, French or Latin is advantageous. On that note, acht weiter, keep it up, have fun! Alright guys, that's it from me for today. I hope that you liked this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up to let me know that you like my content, and also consider subscribing to my channel. I wish you all well, stay healthy, stay safe. If you happen to be around in Munich, definitely enjoy the Oktoberfest, and Всем, пока! Tschüss zusammen! Bye guys! I'll see you all next week!